have we got this money from, guys? Where have we got this money from? I thought we were broke. We sacked all these employees. Where has the money come from? Now, I'm sure you saw the news that broke by David Ornstein for Fabrizio Romano of Manchester United making their second bid for Benjamin Sesko. Reports are now emerging of, pardon me, I shouldn't have had a fizzy drinks before I went live. Reports are now emerging of Newcastle being angry, not expecting this Manchester United bid. Obviously, Newcastle have made two. We've now made our first bid. Reports coming out from Newcastle sources believing that he prefers Manchester United. And internally, the belief at Manchester United is that Sesko is going to pick them and will be concluded in the next few hours, as obviously Manchester United reached an agreement with Sesko on terms, but so have Newcastle. And the formal bid went today, so Sesko knows what we can do, and he will make his decision. Lots and lots of news coming in regards to Benjamin Sesko. Where has the money come from? Where is the money come from, people? So obviously reports coming out, we've agreed terms. Bear with me. Okay, let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the news on Benjamin Sesko then, because there's a lot of news coming out. So I want to get into it because there's reports of an agreement with Sesko and everything. So let's go into the news. Let's break it all down for you guys as well. So it has been said that breaking Manchester United make offer to RB Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko. The proposal is 85 million euros, which for me is too much, but look, we're desperate. We finished 15th. We need a striker, and Newcastle's pure desperation has put the price tag up a bit. They believe the striker favours Old Trafford, but no reply yet. Ornstein just says the belief is, and belief from Man United is the player favours Old Trafford, but again, that's not been confirmed. But you've got Newcastle sources coming out, and Newcastle sources starting to stress, saying pretty much that this is not the news that Newcastle wanted, is what's been coming out from Newcastle sources. Newcastle starting to stress. Apparently, what's the agreement? The agreement is that we've got terms agreed with Sesko, but so have Newcastle. We're going to break that down. So there's reports coming out that United have reached an agreement with Sesko on terms. I'm going to break it all down. Bear with me, guys. Obviously, you know about the bid. We're going to break down why we've agreed terms and Newcastle have agreed terms and what this all means and everything. So bear with me while I look to explain all the news. But it has been said by Newcastle-based sources that this is not the news that Newcastle wanted. Newcastle were taken by surprise. I think Newcastle believed the Man United a broke gimmick and probably didn't expect us to come in and make a bid of 85 million, which is still 5 million less than Newcastle. So if Benjamin Sesko does end up at Man United, despite us bidding less, that would be quite funny. Although I do think we're both overpaying. But what has been said, so an agreement has been reached with Sesko. Manchester United have reached an agreement with Sesko, but so have Newcastle. We're going to explain this and how it works and break it down because a lot of people keep asking me. So, Sesko deal apparently now depends on which club reaches an agreement with Leipzig, which doesn't make sense because Newcastle have bidded 5 million more. So if Leipzig decided not Sesko, then Leipzig are going to choose Newcastle. So that doesn't make sense, does it? Unless we're offering ours in bigger installments or I don't know. But both Man United and Newcastle reached an agreement on personal terms with the player. So we have reached an agreement with Sesko. We have agreed terms with Sesko, but he has also agreed terms with Newcastle United. So let's break this down. Let's talk about it. Sesko agreement's been reached. We've agreed terms with Sesko, but why has he also agreed terms with Newcastle United? Because I think the reason behind it, if you want my brutally honest answer, is because Sesko's agent's a pain in the arse and RB Leipzig a pain in the arse, and they want a bidding war, and that's exactly what they're doing because Sesko's agent knows the more money that's bidded, the more he takes home. So Sesko's agent is advising Sesko with not really Sesko's best intentions, but his best financial intentions, and Leipzig are a pain in the arse to deal with, if you want the honest truth. But this is the problem, and this is why Newcastle are upset. And this is why Newcastle are getting worried. And this is because, according to Sky Sports Keith, who is the Newcastle sort of source of information, if it came to the two, Manchester United would be Sesko's choice. Now, if Leipzig choose, he's going to Newcastle. He's going to Newcastle if Leipzig choose, because Newcastle are willing to basically give Leipzig anything at this rate. Newcastle, I think, could bid 100 million just so they can get Sesko, because they're getting desperate. So if Leipzig get to choose, he's going to Newcastle. But if Sesko gets to choose, the belief is Manchester United would be Sesko's choice. And this isn't coming out from Romano, who probably has a slight Manchester United bias when reporting the Man United Newcastle news. This is coming out from a Newcastle source, so there's no bias from this journalist. He's saying, obviously, information that he's got. And he's saying if it was between the two, Sesko would choose Manchester United, is what's being said. And United history makes a point here. Still, Newcastle leading the race. Sesko will not hinder Leipzig to get the most money. So I assume Newcastle get them due to better structure to deal. You'd assume that Newcastle bidding more and having a better structure to their bid, you'd assume that Leipzig will accept Newcastle's bid and push him to go to Newcastle, because Sesko can't really choose. You'd assume that. But then everyone's saying, well, he favours Man United, and Man United wouldn't have made a bid without any indication from Sesko. Like, Newcastle made bids regardless, same with Ekitike, same with João Pedro, whereas Manchester United is sort of like, well, we're not going to make a bid unless you tell us you want us. So there's that sort of feeling there. Do I think we're overpaying? Yes. Do I think Vival gives us an advantage? Yes. Yeah, I think, look, we'll have to see how this develops, but Newcastle getting worried. Newcastle are not happy. They didn't expect us to make a bid. And now Newcastle sources saying if it came to the two, Man United's his choice. But Leipzig might make the decision for Sesko and say, well, look, you like them both. Newcastle are going to give us more money. Go there. A source has confirmed that the player prefers Manchester United. He's open to both options, but if he was forced to choose between them, Manchester United would be the choice. And that's said by Sky Sports Keith, which is a very good journalist when it comes to Newcastle. Leipzig will lead the decision to the player. So this is where it gets interesting. Sesko has agreed terms with both Manchester United and both Newcastle United. You've got Florian Plettenberg saying that Sesko's reached an agreement, but blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Sesko deal now. Sorry, you've got Florian Bettenberg saying that Sesko deal now depends on which club reaching an agreement with Leipzig. So reports in Germany are saying that Leipzig's going to choose. The reports in England are saying Leipzig's going to let Sesko choose. Well, if Leipzig are going to let Sesko choose, then he's going to choose Manchester United. But if Leipzig are going to choose, then they're going to choose Newcastle. So we're still in this like, oh, so which club is Sesko going to? Which club is Sesko going to? We're still in this weird cycle of one source says one thing, another source says another thing. Yeah, not just Leipzig has the player. Player could say he's only going to Man United or staying. He can. He could say to Leipzig, I'm only going to United. Basically, Sesko has to force this. Leipzig are going to push him to Newcastle. Sesko's going to have to fight for Manchester United. If he's not that bothered, or he's still a bit undecided but slightly prefers Man United, he could go to Newcastle. Boom. But he's going to have to fight for it if he wants Man United. Apparently, and this came out yesterday, Newcastle put a deadline and told Sesko he's got till Wednesday to make a decision. So apparently in the next 24 hours, Sesko has to make a decision. A lot of sources are saying this decision is Man United. We don't know that for sure. But there is talk of there being a deadline of Wednesday to make that decision as well. I think Manchester United's bid going in is a big sign that he's probably leaning towards Manchester United. But, how are we financing this, guys? I mean, I'm going to break that down, how I think we're financing this. Does this stop us getting a midfielder? Like, Sesko, Cunha and Bumo is a very good, front three. But I do worry a little bit. I like Sesko. I think he's a good signing. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's a lot of money. I think it's a lot of money. And there is concerns over what we get. with that kind of money, if that makes sense. I just think for 70 odd million pounds, we've done. Sesko's obviously way more developed than Hoyland when we spent 70 million on Hoyland, but he's still not ready made. But he's good talent, great talent. He's still not ready made. There is those like initial fears. Thank you for the super chat, Patrick Lynch. Leipzig's decision will probably be down to what is negotiated with the sell-on clauses. Whoever gives the most favourable decision deal has the advantage. And I assume that would be Newcastle right now. I think they want to adjust that a little bit more, especially with the pressure of HIJACK leaving. So, yeah. How are United going to finance this? People saying credit card, people saying instalments. That's Ineos' problem. The financing, plus we aren't heavily linked to many centre mids. There's questions over, are we doing instalments? How are we going to pay for it? Are we going to get a centre mid or not? There's a lot of questions over how are we going to do that and stuff as well. So yeah, let's continue on into some more updates and stories, because there's a lot to get through in regards to Sesko. So obviously when Ornstein and Romano drop a story about a bid going in, we then get a lot of updates coming in. So we're going to get into these updates. Manchester United believes Sesko wants to join and never plan to bid without player buy-in. Formal offers made this morning followed talks with Sesko yesterday. So Manchester United believe Sesko wants to join and never plan to bid without the player buy-in. Formal offer made this morning following talks with Sesko yesterday. So Manchester United had talks with Sesko yesterday. In those talks with Sesko yesterday, they said we're not bidding for you unless we know you choose us. And we bidded for him. So Sesko's clearly told Manchester United he prefers them to Newcastle, because we wouldn't have made that bid if he didn't. Manchester United sent official bid to show serious concrete intentions to Leipzig. I think they needed to show Sesko they were serious, following Newcastle's 90 million bid. Sources at Manchester United believe Sesko's keen on the move and decided to proceed with official bid. Newcastle and United waiting for formal decision. Again, Romano saying United wanted to show that they're serious, they've got money. I will say this. Why didn't we bid for Ekatike earlier? Unless he made it really clear he wanted Liverpool. Because I do think Ekatike went for this fee, and Ekatike for me is better than Sesko from what I've seen in the Bundesliga. That's my only question around it. Get Sesko, sell Bruno to Saudi, get a dynamic mid and a goalie. I wouldn't sell Bruno to Saudi. Bruno doesn't fully fit Amran's system. But Bruno's such a good player that we need his quality on the pitch. I think if we get to a point where, let's say this season we finish 5th and we have a good season, we can sell Bruno because we've already got a bit more quality on the pitch, and we'll be fine selling Bruno and finding players that really suit Amran's system. But people are like, okay, Bruno doesn't fully suit Amran's system. He's not deeper, but he's not a 10. Like, it doesn't. But Bruno's such a good quality player, and when we lack quality, you just need Bruno. Do you know what I mean? Like, none of our centre mids really suit the system. Like, Maino is an unbelievable player, but Maino doesn't suit the system one bit, and that worries me. My only hope is, and this is a weird thing to say, but after like 4 or 5 games, people are like, Maino doesn't suit Euro doesn't suit back 5, Euro doesn't suit the system, Euro doesn't suit back 5, and we can see that he does. So I guess my hope with Maino is the same thing, where like he just gets in his best shape this season, recovers from his injury, and he does somehow suit the midfield too. But there's a different. It's easier to play in a back 3 or back 5 than it is to play in a back 4, they say. Whereas it's harder to play in midfield 2 than midfield 3. So yeah. We don't have legs in midfield. How much is Carlos Baleba? I reckon between 80 to 100 million. That's why I said we should look at Lucien Agome. I think he's the best alternative out there that's affordable. There is concerns over the midfield. Like, for me, like Sesko, I'm happy if we sign in. I think we've overpaid, but Sesko and Bumo Cunha, that's a brand new front 3 in a season where we didn't get many goals. Fantastic stuff. But do not neglect the midfield. If Newcastle lose this race, it's already been a big pickle because they've already shown their hand. They have 80 million cash, legit. Brentford and Chelsea could get 70 to 80 million dubs for, I'm assuming, Jackson. I mean, apparently they'll look at Jackson if they get rejected, which I think Jackson's goodbye for Newcastle United. I don't think Jackson's anywhere near as bad as people make out. I think his link-up play is good at, but he's not worth 80 million. But no, I don't think it's a problem for Newcastle if they get rejected, in the sense of because they already bidded this kind of money on Ekitike. Not quite this much, but they put bids in Ekitike and João Pedro and didn't get them. So everyone, regardless if Newcastle would have made a bid or not, people knew they had the money. I mean, it'd be crazy if they spent this kind of money on Nicholas Jackson, but Nicholas Jackson's a better signing than people think. Like, everyone was Jackson's horrific. Jackson's awful. I watched Jackson the first half of last season, and he wasn't really good. And then he fell off a bit, and then he just kept getting red cards and got injured. But if you looked at Jackson from August to January last year, he was actually really good. But no, I'm not saying that he's great, and I'm not saying that Jackson's worth anywhere near 80 million. That's ridiculous. But I don't think Jackson's as bad signing as people make out. Adam thinks Sesko's better than Ekitike. For me, Sesko is a better, more clinical goal scorer than Ekitike. Sesko is more of a Haaland profile, whereas Ekitike is more of an HIJACK profile, where Ekitike's all-round game and link-up is better. He's a better all-round player, Ekitike, but as a striker, as a finisher, then I think Sesko's the better player. Not saying that Sesko's harder than Ekitike is HIJACK, but that's how I'd explain it. Haaland always gets the most goals, but as a player, I think HIJACK is more complete. Never wanted Jackson to be a proper finisher. Like, Nicholas Jackson is a very good player, but not a very good striker. I think that's a really good analogy of Nicholas Jackson, because his link-up play, his hold-up play, his all-round game is good, but he is not clinical. I don't know. I think you'd have to be about 100 feet tall to do that, and like be able to like move your head all over the place. But I mean, because Deleu's crosses. Do you know what? Wan-Bissaka was a better crosser than Deleu, but there was always this myth that Deleu was better going forward. Deleu was better on the ball, but Deleu was never better going forward than Wan-Bissaka. I tell you who puts a lot of good crosses in, Mbeumo. And Mbeumo puts a lot of good crosses in, and Mbeumo does. Lucien Agome, I think, is the Baleba alternative. Similar physicality as well. Manchester United in direct contact with RB Leipzig to discuss details of formal 85 million bid for Sesko. Newcastle want final answer ASAP. Where did you get that from? Is that just an update coming in now? Or is that something that I've already covered earlier? I can't. Oh, yes, Romano's given an update. Romano gives a lot of half updates that aren't really updates, doesn't he? Because he makes a bag from Twitter. And Romano is saying that United are in direct contact with Leipzig to discuss this bid. Newcastle want a final answer. United internally feels they're Sesko's preference, but he's not made a decision. I think the fact that everybody's saying that everybody feels Newcastle, both Newcastle journalists and Man United journalists are suggesting they believe Sesko's preference is United, probably says that Sesko's preference is United, but he's not going to turn down Newcastle until it's pretty much done with Man United. We will talk about Hayden Hackney and all of that as well, but we don't have really big updates on Hayden Hackney. It's just that like he rejected Ipswich. Manchester United haven't really made any moves for Hayden Hackney. I mean, look, I don't think Sesko's like nailed on Manchester United. Like I've been very 50-50 on where Sesko will go. I think he prefers Man United, but I don't think I think if he really preferred Man United loads, he would have told Newcastle to F off, but he hasn't. So I think he's really considering it, but I think his preference is United, Man United. Anyway, continuing on. Benjamin Sesko has now agreed financial terms with both Manchester United and Newcastle. Both clubs are confident of reaching agreement with Leipzig in the coming hours. United believes Sesko wants to join them. Newcastle's long-standing fear has been if both clubs offer like-for-like, Sesko would pick United. So Newcastle have a little bit of fear and a little bit of a worry that he's now going to pick Manchester United. Now both teams have offered similar bids. Newcastle's bid is a bit better than ours, but it's not massively better. It's 5 million euros difference, so that's 4 million quid difference. Newcastle feel if there was similar bids submitted, he would pick Manchester United. And that is sort of the current case we're in right now. So again, more indication from sources believing he'll pick Man United. That doesn't necessarily mean he'll pick Man United until he's officially picked Man United. He hasn't picked Man United. How do you feel about Liverpool taking Rio from Chelsea? Goodbye. That was your best signing last summer. That actually was your best signing last summer, because the other ones were Mamardashvili and Chiesa. And Chiesa's, I think Chiesa deserves more of a chance. But really good pickup there, a really good pickup. And I can see why Chelsea bans Liverpool scouts after that. I'd be fuming too if I was a Chelsea scout that Liverpool are going to steal. Honestly, one of the probably top 3 best 16-year-olds in football right now? He's got to be a top 3. Max Dowman, Rio Enyimoa are probably the 2 best youngsters I've seen in pre-season. We've not really seen any of the Manchester United youngsters under Amorim. We've got Shido, that's good. He's obviously a little bit older. Yeah, it's ridiculous, Max Dellman and Rio Enyimoa. I wonder who the next big youngster will be at United. We've got JJ Gabriel, but he's a bit young to, if Shea Lacey could stay fit, Shea Lacey's a baller. JJ Gabriel was a bit young. He's a baller. Obi's still got banging potential. But some crazy young players out there. Chelsea signed too many young players to let kids come through. Apparently Tyreek George wants out of Chelsea. Yeah, Fab Post. Is the Fab Post the one I just read out? Or was there another one? Manchester United in direct contact. Yeah, no, it's the one I just read out. The Fabrizio Romano post is the one I read out. What I'm going to do is, again, another source. This is a really good source when it comes to Sesko. It said that, an agreement had been reached, blah, 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 blah. Okay, do you know what I'm going to do for you guys? Because there's been a gazillion stories on Benjamin Sesko, I'm just going to read out every story that's come out on Benjamin Sesko in the last 2 hours, and I'm going to quick fire it, okay? So you know what is being said. So, first things first, Manchester United by Romano Ornstein Build had made a bid for Sesko. Manchester United had made a bid for Sesko. It's 5 million short of Newcastle's bid. We then had Jan, who's a good journalist in Germany, saying that Sesko's waiting for United. We then had the Telegraph saying that Sesko was waiting for United. We then had Sky Sports Keith saying that RB Leipzig are yet to respond to Newcastle's offer of 70 million plus add-ons for Benjamin Sesko. We then had that news. We obviously had confirmation of Manchester United making a £73 million bid, including add-ons. We then have news about the total package that Man United bid for Sesko was €85 million, with 5 million of which was add-ons. 10 million which was add-ons. We've offered €75 million plus 10 in add-ons, but Leipzig have not replied. It was then said by Ben Jacobs that Newcastle offered a slightly higher with fixed fee of €80 million, but Manchester United believes Sesko want to join them, which is why they bidded less than Sesko, because Man United are confident that Sesko are gonna, push Newcastle out and join them. We then had reports coming out from Romano confirming the official bid, and United are doing this to show they're serious about Sesko. We then had Sky Sports say that Sesko is open to both projects but prefers Manchester United. We then had Ben Jacobs saying that Newcastle fear that Sesko is going to pick Manchester United. We then had reports coming out from that very good source out when it comes to Sesko and RB Leipzig, saying that Sesko's camp reached an agreement with both United and Newcastle. They've both been agreed. Now it's decisive hours ahead. Simon Stone then said that Manchester United believe that Sesko is keen to join them, and Newcastle's latest offer has not been accepted. Sesko has agreed financial terms with Manchester United and Newcastle, said Ben Jacobs. We then had updates coming in that a source believes that Sesko prefers Man United, and that came out from Newcastle source Keith. Romano said that Man United put the official bid in because they felt that Sesko is now waiting for them over Newcastle. Sully says internally the belief at Manchester United is they expect Sesko to pick them because United had positive talks with Sesko this morning / last night, which is why Manchester United made the bid, because they believe Sesko will pick them. That's what has come in. So quite a lot on Benjamin Sesko's come in. Nothing's confirmed yet, but Romano said that United are in direct contact right now. We had a meeting with Sesko late last night, and we've made the bid today. So I'm assuming it went well. Continuing on, I hope bid is rejected. We need other players. For me, I think this is a win-win for Manchester United. Okay. Do I think we're overpaying for Sesko? Yes. But this is why I think it's a win-win. If we get Sesko, we get a good striker. We get a striker that is an improvement on Højlund, and we absolutely get to banter and take the piss out of Newcastle to a different level. Imagine them bidding more than us, offering him the same wages, and it'll be 3 out of 3 with Cunha and Buma Sesko. We can absolutely have a bit of banter and fun on the timeline, and we get a good striker despite overpaying. If we don't get Sesko, well, we've stopped overpaying for a striker that is still ready-made, and those funds can be invested in a good midfielder and a proven striker, which might help us even more. So we're in a situation. For me, it's a win-win. We get to absolutely banter Newcastle, and we get a good player if we get him. And if we don't get him, it's not the end of the world, because I think we're overpaying. I think we'd be better off with a midfielder. I think Ollie Watkins would have been my preferred choice. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at. Newcastle, do you want Højlund? We should offer Newcastle Højlund. Say, look, we're really sorry for taking Mbeumo, Cunha, and HIJACK. Would you like Højlund? Would you like Højlund? I feel like they'd absolutely want to kill us if we'd done that. Yeah. Tune up the funds, but not the stature. First couple of 7 decades. The thing is, though, I can't understand why Newcastle have been rejected so much. Like, Newcastle aren't as big as Manchester United, and they're not as big as, you know, a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a Chelsea. But Newcastle are still a big club. Like, I get it if it was like a Brentford. Like, no offense to Brentford, but they're not a big club. But Newcastle is in Champions League. They've got one of the best managers in the league. Like, Newcastle are like Villa for me. Big club. Obviously, Newcastle in the Champions League this year. Big club, brilliant manager, ambition. Like, I'm going to be totally honest. Like, for that many players to reject Newcastle is crazy. Like, I get we're Manchester United, and I get that we're just big. And even though we're 15th and we are like a dump for players and we seem to ruin the players, like, we're Manchester United. Like, I get it. I'm a Man United fan. But, like, still, I feel like Newcastle to be rejected by so many players this summer does shock me with the Champions League football. Like, Newcastle have good stadium, good fans, big club, big fan base, big amount of money, Champions League football, fantastic manager. And yeah, they just, like, João Pedro, Delap, you know, I think Gay wants Liverpool over Newcastle. I mean, Sesko, we don't know for sure yet, but Cunha and Mbeumo. I mean, I think James Trafford didn't reject them. I think just Newcastle took too much time with that. It's mad. It is mad, to be fair, because I don't know. I actually don't understand why so many players are rejecting Newcastle. I don't. I really don't, to be honest. I read the Fabrizio Romano update about United having another bit of contact, and this Romano's put his 1,000,000th update saying the same thing out. Sure, mate, surely you're not serious. If Eddie Howe does shit next season, it'll be Newcastle's fault, not Eddie Howe's fault. They've only given him Elanga. They didn't give him anyone last summer. I mean, I feel for Eddie Howe. You know, if we get Sesko, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna wind people up on the timeline. I'm gonna have a bit of banter, but at the end of the day, I feel for Eddie Howe. And I said it, and I'll stick with it. I still think Newcastle's a better move for Sesko's development than Man United. I think if Sesko chooses Newcastle, it would be a smart decision from him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Newcastle's a good club for Sesko to go to for his development. He's under a great manager. He plays European football. I think if Sesko chose Newcastle United, I'd say fair enough. But we finished 15th and we still have some pole. It's just weird. I take Eddie Howe. People give me stick for this, but if I would trade Amrin for Eddie Howe and heartbeat right now. And like, I like Amrin. I think Amrin, you know, I'm not convinced by Amrin yet, because why would BB finish 15th? But I think Amrin can succeed at United. I think he's a nice guy. He's a likable guy. But I think Eddie Howe is one of the best managers in the league, personally. Where does this leave us, WRT midfield options? Where does this leave us with midfield options? I'm assuming what you mean. Yeah, people saying what? See, people saying I'm stupid. Like, would you keep Amrin over Eddie Howe? Like, if Eddie Howe became, I don't know, if Newcastle got rid of Eddie Howe, like, I wouldn't want to sack Amrin right now, because it would be a dickhead move, because we haven't backed him. But I'm just saying, I rate Eddie Howe as a manager more than I rate Ruben Amorim. And a lot of you disagree with me on that. Really, like, I think we haven't seen Amorim do enough at Manchester United yet for me to say, like if Amorim finishes 4th next season and wins us a trophy, my mindset and Amorim is going to be very different. But I think Eddie Howe is an unbelievable manager. Not that we get him, but yeah. The longer we wait, the more I think he's going to Newcastle. True, but then I actually feel the longer it's going on, that means he's more likely going to United. Newcastle are ready to do the deal, get the deal done, and just pay whatever Leipzig want to get the deal done. Whereas we're the ones stalling it for a bit of money. So I think the longer it goes on, the more likely he's going to go to us. I personally disagree. I'm with you, Alice. I don't know how formation I prefer Eddie Howe. Yeah. People are being disrespectful to Eddie Howe in the comments. I didn't think that would be an unpopular opinion. But how has Eddie Howe done? Eddie Howe took Bournemouth from the relegation zone on a huge point deduction in League Two, who were facing liquidation, who only had 11 players, and used his own money to fund stuff for the training ground. He took Bournemouth on a minus points deduction in League Two, certain for relegation, up to the Premier League, kept them in the Premier League. Bear in mind, in his early coaching days, he basically paid for like training facilities at Bournemouth. It's not training facilities, things like cones and stuff. So Bournemouth from on a I think they're on a minus 20 points deduction they started the season with, and he kept them up so they didn't go down. He took them to the Premier League. He kept them in the Premier League. He went to Newcastle. He didn't have a single summer signing this last summer at Newcastle. I'm not counting Osula or Lloyd Kelly. He didn't have a single summer signing last summer at Newcastle. Came third, got Champions League football. I honestly think Eddie Howe's one of the most underrated managers in football. I do. I'm like people disagree with me, but I feel like you can't dislike Eddie Howe as a manager. You know, a lot of people disagree with me here, saying you're wrong, but I think Eddie Howe's an incredible manager. I'm surprised me saying Eddie Howe's a good manager is an unpopular opinion in this chat. But yeah, I just think what he's done is crazy. But anyway, continuing on. Let's round up the situation. Manchester United have made a massive bid for Sesko. It's still 5 million less than what Newcastle bid, but it is a massive bid for Benjamin Sesko. And you'd assume a bid that big surely gets a deal over the line, right? Maybe, maybe not. Leipzig clearly want a bidding war. The belief is that Sesko wants United. He's waiting for Manchester United from both Newcastle and Manchester United sides. There's a feeling he prefers Manchester United, but he hasn't made a decision yet. Sesko could be pressured by Leipzig to accept Newcastle. And if he accepts Newcastle, fair play. Good manager. It is a big team. It's been disrespected by other players in the transfer market, but it is a big team. It's got a great manager. It's a big club, and it'll be good for his development. And if he rejects us, Sesko, then cool, spend the money on the midfielder. If he agrees to join us, cool. Got a good striker. Højlund's on the way out. We can have a bit of fun bantering Newcastle, and that's the situation. Eddie, I would disagree with that. I think he's won a trophy and got Champions League football. Surely that is the high. I mean, look, he's not gone back to back Premier League and Champions League, but I'd say Eddie Howe's proven himself. I'd say that. Also, there is talk coming out that should Manchester United sign Benjamin Sesko, Rasmus Højlund is expected to leave. Which I think signing Sesko, if Højlund's then like, nah, I'm going to stay, I'll be pretty shocked. Because if we sign Sesko, like, why are you begging to stay, Højlund? Like, why are you begging to stay? So I think that'll be the end of Højlund. Anyway, I'm going to be back tonight with a late night roundup. But if there is any breaking news, there will be a video or live stream before that. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.